How well do you understand liquidity pools? Let's find out. This is the ETH/USD chart. On May 5th of 2022, a user deposits $10,000 worth of ETH and USDC into the UniV3 ETH/USDC concentrated liquidity pool and picks a range of $1,000 to $2,000. A year later, on May 5th of 2023, they withdraw. So here's the question. How much money did they make? Seriously, how much money did they make? ETH/USDC has to be the most gawked at chart in all of crypto, and Uniswap version 3 is far and away the most popular DEX on ETH, so how much money did they make? I see tons of people on Twitter and at cryptocurrency conferences claim that they understand liquidity pools and concentrated liquidity specifically, but how many of those people can actually answer this question? How much money did this position make? Can you even guess? 2.29%. The answer is 2.29%. And almost no one gets this right, by the way. Even extremely experienced professional liquidity providers are usually off by like a factor of 5. That's why the Carbon Simulator was made. It's a free tool that will give you a bunch of really useful information about nearly every liquidity provision platform that you can think of. And if you've ever provided liquidity to any major DEX, not counting Curve or Balancer, then you need to watch this video and check out the Carbon Simulator, because it will give you animated graphs and detailed text files with the exact answer to these kinds of questions. And not just on the ETH/USD chart either. The simulator can input dozens of different tokens comprising hundreds of pairs and check any time frame in the last 7 years. I'm Zeno, and this video is a guide for anyone wanting to better understand the profitability, or lack thereof, of providing liquidity to liquidity pools. Uni version 2 and Uni version 3 are great platforms. They really are. But this video isn't about them. It's about you, and how it's possible that people who say they understand crypto, and people who do understand crypto, have serious trouble even guessing at the profitability of LP positions like this one. Similarly, the Carbon Simulator isn't really for Carbon. It's for you, so that you have a tool to test how well strategies would have performed on the most prominent exchanges and compare that to Carbon. Carbon is a new decentralized trading protocol that has true on-chain limit and range orders by way of concentrated asymmetric liquidity. Carbon doesn't use concentrated liquidity the way that UniV3 does, or constant product like UniV2. So anytime you use the Carbon Simulator, it will create 3 distinct outputs. Carbon, concentrated liquidity, aka UniV3, and constant product, aka UniV2. And detailed text files, like extremely detailed text files. The one that I created for the ETH/USD 1-year chart has 200,000 lines in it, and all of this is made from publicly available price data found on CryptoCompare, CoinMarketCap, and CoinGecko. And the simulation will tell you how profitable or unprofitable your LP position was on UniV2, UniV3, 1inch, Trader Joe, SushiSwap, PancakeSwap, SpookySwap, and every other DEX that uses constant product or concentrated liquidity. And then it also creates an output for Carbon so you can compare and contrast. Last thing before we get into this, you do not need to know how to code at all to use the Carbon Simulator. I know this is true because I can't code and I can use it. And all of this will be hosted online for free. So if during the course of this video you ever see some Python script on your screen, don't freak out. It's not a real Python. It can't hurt you. Step 1. Pick your tokens. To run a simulation, the simulator needs to know what it's simulating. We need to tell the simulator to use the ETH/USD chart. So we type, using all capital letters, ETH as the base and USDC as the quote. Whenever you see a chart like this, by the way, that has 2 currencies for the title, the first one's always called the base currency and the second one's always called the quote currency. Ask your local Forex trader why that is. We also have to tell the simulator the time frame of our simulation. CryptoCompare shows the last 90 days exactly, no more or less than that, and it offers very frequent price updates. I think they use the 4-hour chart for most things. CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, on the other hand, allow users to pick just about any time frame in the last 7 years, but their prices are usually limited to the 1-day chart. So we're going to simulate from May 5th of 2022 to May 5th of 2023. Just like at the start of the video. And we'll be using data from CoinMarketCap. And we type that time in using a very specific time and date format because a bunch of nerds got together in the late 1980s and decided that's how time should be written. Then you tell the simulator how large the portfolio is, measured in dollars. I like to pick 10,000 because that makes everything nice and neat, but you can pick whatever number you want. The percentages don't actually change. Then you tell the simulator how often your position gets updated. We're using CoinMarketCap, so the time frame is always going to be 1 day. Then I need to put in the secret API key. You won't have to do this, and it's a secret. Stop looking, it's a secret. And then you hit run, and it shows us the ETH USDC chart. And this chart doesn't actually start on May 5th of 2022. It shows us around 30 days before the start of our chosen date. So May 5th is right around here somewhere. Step 2, set the range for Uniswap version 3. I know this is the Carbon simulator, but we're going to start with the LP range on UniV3 because more people have used UniV3, and later we can use the UniV3 ranges as a reference. And here we're just typing in 2000 for the upper bound and 1000 for the lower bound. Step 3. Now we pick a range for Carbon. We're going to set up a buy range between 1000 and 1300 and a sell range between 1800 and 2000. Range boundary 1 is the end of the sell range. Range boundary 2 is the start of the sell range. Range boundary 3 is the end of the buy range. And range boundary 4 is the start of the buy range. Step 4. Set the bid and ask. Don't mess with these at all, unless you are an advanced trader. Seriously, if you want to change either of these values, you should actually come to our Telegram or Discord and ask about it, or be prepared to experiment a lot. So we don't mess with this and hit OK. Step 5. Choose your portfolio's initial composition. On Carbon, you don't have to deposit 2 assets to start a strategy. If you think ETH is going to go down, then you can just put in USDC and wait to buy the dip. And that's what our strategy is going to be doing. So there isn't anything to adjust. We click the OK button and move on. Step 6. Choose the fees. The slider here is written as a logarithm, which might sound complicated, but really it just makes the slider easier to adjust. So move it left and right until you see 3 bips, or in our case, 2.99 something. Last step. Choose what outputs will be generated. I suggest doing all of these because it will make comparing them easier. And that's all there is to it. The simulator will then create animated graphs and text files breaking down all of the numbers and steps in order to create those numbers. So that's how to use the simulator. The rest of this video is going to be all about understanding what it is we just made. Let's look at the Uniswap version 2 stuff first. When the simulator finishes, there will be 7 things that are made. 2 animations for constant product, 2 animations for concentrated liquidity, 2 animations for Carbon, and 1 text file with details for everything. This animation is called the depth animation. In the upper left is the price chart. The area shaded in red represents the amount of ETH that is in the position relative to the amount of ETH that the position started with. So it's 50% red and 50% green at the start, but as soon as the price goes down, there will be more ETH and less USDT, meaning more red and less green. In the upper right is the performance versus HODL chart. This chart tells you how well your position is relative to holding in a wallet. Most people deposit into liquidity pools because they think their position will generate a return. The performance versus HODL chart tells you how much money this position made, or didn't make, relative to the strategy of doing literally nothing. This particular position has a low of about negative 20%, and it doesn't ever really fully recover. The bottom left is the depth chart. This tells us how much liquidity there is at any given price. Notice that towards the middle of the depth chart, where the actual price is, there isn't that much liquidity. This is the main problem with UniV2, and when we look at the UniV3 charts later, it will be very obvious why concentrated liquidity is so revolutionary. In the bottom right, we have fees generated. We can see that as time goes on, there are fees being collected, but really not that much. Remember, this strategy started with 5,000 USD worth of ETH and 5,000 USDT, and at the very end of 1 year, UniV2 only collects a total of $30 in fees, 15 USDT and $15 worth of ETH. The minuscule fees generated here are why the performance versus HODL chart never recovers. At the end of the year, the position is down 1.49%. Here is the next animation for UniV2 called the invariant animation. The upper left and upper right graphs are the same as last time. The bottom 2 graphs are both portraying the same information, and that is how much USDT and ETH there is, exactly, at any given moment. In the bottom left is the ETH USDT chart, and in the bottom right is the USDT ETH chart. At any given time, we can pause the animation, and you can see that the amount of USDT is the exact same in both charts. When dealing with tokens paired with stablecoins, the invariant animation doesn't offer much insight or use. It's also not very helpful when looking at constant product. This animation is both of those things, so not much interesting to see here. Now for the UniV3 animations. The names of the charts here are the exact same as before, but notice at the very start of this position, there is no ETH. It's all in on USDT. When the spot price of ETH starts to dip, then the position starts to generate fees. After just 2 months have passed, UniV3 has already generated more fees than UniV2 did in an entire year. But the performance versus HODL is actually somehow worse than UniV2? What gives? Concentrated liquidity also means concentrated impermanent loss. However, UniV3 is much more able to make up these losses with stellar fee accrual and a faster return from a deficit. In the bottom left, we see the liquidity depth, and just how much more liquidity there is near the spot than in UniV2. Here, most of the liquidity is actually within striking distance of the spot. With a tighter range, this strategy could have earned more fees, by focusing liquidity closer to the spot. But remember at the start of the video when the price wasn't inside of our range and nothing happened? If instead of 1,000 to 2,000 being our range, imagine we set the range to be plus or minus 5% of the spot price and updated it every time it moved. Then yeah, this strategy would have done significantly better in terms of fees. But also, by my thumbnail estimate, it would have had to re-range 61 times. Do you know how much gas it costs to re-range 61 times? Even if we pretend it only costs $30 on average, and it costs way more than that on average, then that would be $1,800 worth of ETH spent on just re-ranging. Concentrating liquidity to that extent would surely improve the fees generated, but would it improve the fees to 6x what they already are? And that would be just to break even on the gas costs. So, at the end of 1 year, we see that UniV3 has a positive return of 2.29%. which is about 4% better than the negative 1.49% of UniV2. It also generated 800% more fees, and even more importantly, it actually made the user money. Here's the UniV3 invariant animation. Again, same as the UniV2 invariant animation, not a lot of insight to be found here, but it will tell you the exact balance of ETH and USDC in the position at any given time. It's also very interesting to note that in this particular position, there are times both when the position has no ETH and all USDT, and all ETH and no USDT. Now let's look at the carbon depth animation. The carbon price chart is slightly different. The green strip represents the liquidity in the buy range, and the opaque red strip represents the sell range. The sell range is currently empty, which is why it's opaque. When the price dips into the buy range, USDT is converted into ETH, emptying out the buy range and turning it to an opaque green. The red sell range is no longer opaque, representing the ETH available to be sold. In the upper right is the performance versus HODL chart, which is just amazing. This is what we're really here for, right? This position over 1 year makes 138%. In the bottom left is the depth chart. Notice that there is only liquidity in the ranges we picked. And in the bottom right are the fees. These fees are not given to the strategy maker or to the strategy taker who interacted with the strategy. These fees are given to Carbon and will be collected and converted to BNT. This strategy only generated $20 worth of fees over the course of a year, which I think is a pretty reasonable amount considering the performance. Next is the invariant animation. Again, in strategies which have a token paired with a stablecoin, I find the invariant animation to be not so interesting. You can see in the bottom left is the USDT balance, and this is also visible in the price chart in the green buy area. Same with the ETH balance, which is also represented in the price chart in the red sell area. Lastly, we're going to look at the text file, which is extremely self-explanatory and I won't spend much time on. But I like to start by scrolling all the way to the end, where I can see the statistics of each strategy as they finished. But you can also start at the beginning and follow along each step so that you can be sure that the simulator is doing its calculations correctly. If you have a strategy you really want to see simulated, then you can tweet at HereToDeFi or Rick Barber with the hashtag CarbonDefi, and you give them the tokens, the price, the range, and the time frame, and they'll run simulations on the most popular strategies. And that's it. If you want to learn more about Carbon or about other cryptocurrency related things, then feel free to subscribe and check out my other videos.